All right, cool. We're going to go ahead and get started talking about recruiting today. Boss method, grow your team, always be recruiting. And we have got Mr. Ryan Rodenbeck on with us today. How are you, Ryan?
Doing very well. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good, absolutely. Really looking forward to diving in. I've, we've known each other for a long time and pretty familiar with your business and, definitely seen the last couple of years, you've really been focused on recruiting and it's paying off. So why don't you give us a little background on you and the company, and then we'll dig into to the recruiting.
Yeah, sure. So I started this company in 2008, really kind of haphazardly. Wanted to get my broker's license. From 2008 to probably around 2015, I had a few agents that were with me for what reasons unknown because I really didn't have any of my shit together. So, in 2015, I really wanted to grow the team. I wanted to start making money off the team, and I wanted to ultimately get out of transactions, right? Even in 2015, it took me a good couple of years to kind of get my bearings out, really kind of chart my course, figure out how I was going to do this. And the last 2 years have been the results of that, getting more organized and diligent. And even in like the last year has been great. We went from, I think, 12 agents to, started working on the company culture really. And then when I got to about 12 agents, I think it was last March, I was at 12 agents. Now we're at 32 agents. I've recruited 7 agents during COVID. So
That's wild. Yeah, I think, the thing that I know about your story too is that, you guys were functioning a little more as a team. I mean, you were definitely a small, what I would consider a bit smaller in size at that point in the game. And it's really amazing. And I want to get into this more later, but like kind of that critical mass of going from like, okay, we're a small, almost a teamerage. Like it felt like a team that was a brokerage. And now it's really been some rapid growth. But what I want to dig into is that you started a while back and now it's paying off.
yeah, well, and I think what people don't realize is growing a team to the point where you are actually a team leader or a broker, however you want to call it, is like trying to do trying to grow a startup, right? I was a top producing agent from 2011 till up until about a year ago, and the last couple of years, 2017, 18, and 2019, I actually made less money than I would have if I would have been. I mean, my height, I did 26 million a year, and I would have made a lot more money if I were not trying to grow the team. So the mind is serving two masters at some point, right? And
Yeah.
you need to grow the team in order to release your duties as a top producer, but you also need to be a top producer in order to fuel the income to grow the team.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. And I've had that conversation with lots of people, and there's no one right way to do that. But I think you got to be moving towards it, because if you're of the mentality where either you just need to be the lead dog. I like to joke with people and tell them they're the top buyer's agent. I'm like, congrats, you're
Yeah.
the top buyer's agent on your team. And they're like, no, I'm
Yeah.
the owner. I'm like, no, you're the top buyer's agent.
Right.
Or, there's kind of that dependency on that income of where, it's like, how am I going to stop this? You got to keep paying for the party is what I usually call it.
Absolutely. And it's a tough hurdle to get past. And I feel like we're literally just now getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and can you speak any more to that? Like what, either from mindset or coaching, or like when did you decide like, I got to make this investment and just go with it?
I think I decided in 2017 that I am going to get out of transactions, and I'm still in them, but just a little bit, right? Stuff that just comes to me in like within, a 4-mile geographical area. But like, I remember last year we made some momentum, and, about May of last year, I decided that like, in order for me to really focus on recruitment, that I needed to stop really being a top producer. And we own 5 duplexes, and I decided to sell one duplex, pull out $130,000 so that I just would not be stressed and to have to go, listing appointments over and over again. Right. And that money dried up fairly fast. So, but as it started to dry up, we started bringing in agents and we started closing more house deals, and then we're closing more agent deals. And, even when that money dried up, we're like, oh man, it's still not enough. But then things started to finally come together. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like at least for the way my brokerage is structured, that magic number is around 30, of producing agents. And that's a big deal. Right. There are brokerages out there that have, 40 agents. I look at them all the time, and, I've seen the top producing agent is usually the broker that's doing, 10 to 20 million. And then the next top producing agent is 3 million. And then everyone below that is lower. That you can have 40 agents with that, and that's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. But I think part of where people, and I want your opinion on this for sure, but I think part of where people kind of, I don't want to say mess up, maybe where they give up, is that the top producer is not going to be your first 3 recruits either. So you got to, I don't want to say anything inappropriate, but like, you got to get a couple of like medium fish before you can get the big fish. So.
Yeah, you do. And the other thing I think people need to realize, and one thing that took me a while to realize, is like when I was first starting to do this, I was looking at people that had minimum of 3 million and a low license, like a lower license number, meaning they're newer, right? And then as we started to get more successful, and what I realized, agents that were coming over to my team were doing better at my brokerage than they were at the previous brokerage, that like, you need to look at the history of transaction, right? And really evaluate that, and also look for people that are what we call loss leaders, right? And then there's two forms of loss leaders. One is the one that makes a lot of money that maybe you're going to sacrifice some splits with, but they bring clout to your company. And then there's other ones. We've had a few other ones that they don't really do all that much, but they're very popular in the realtor crowd. Okay. Yeah. So my goal with them is not only to get them over, but get them over and then increase their production.
Yeah. And then that becomes part of the recruiting story. It's like so-and-so came over, they were doing 5 million. They did 8 million their first year here, and they're on track to do 12.
Yeah. And we have some great stories about that in our lineup. I mean, the average agent that comes from another brokerage usually doubles their production. And I want to take this with a grain of salt, right? A lot of 32 agents, over half of them were with companies that were with boutique brokerages that were just like mine. Okay. And those brokerages were absorbed or bought by larger big box brokerages like Compass or EXP, Better Homes and Gardens, right? And they just felt like these are people, I'm not knocking those companies. These are the people that just, they're more comfortable in a boutique, independent, collaborative brokerage.
Right. And let's be real, like a chunk of the boutiques aren't really that great. Like they exist, but like I think people might underutilize. And I'm not saying you should go steal from other boutiques, but there are a lot of people out there that jump into this for either the wrong reasons or weren't equipped to do it. And so being just positioned to be ready for that. And I don't think that's going away either. I don't think the acquisition and all that's going to get any slower.
No. And I you know what, when Compass and EXP first came on the scene, at first they were, kind of a big fear to me. It was made to feel like these disruptors are going to tear everybody apart. Right. They're the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right.
Because they've eliminated.
We're not them. We're not them. We're this.
Well, no, not just that, but they've eliminated the competition.
Oh, that's true.
There's
that's
only we're 3 years ago, if I look at boutique independent brokerages in Austin, there had tons of competition. Right. Now my competition's very low.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a great point. I'm going to run a super quick poll. We'll keep talking a while. I just want to see who is on from a role perspective. Just get a feel for if we have a bunch of team leaders or boutique owners or whatnot. I'll share the results when they pop up. But Ryan, I want to dive a little more now into some of the logistics. And in fact, even before the logistics, like where do you get some of your recruiting leads from? Like, are you buying a list or are they co-op? Like, what's the top of the funnel for you?
Yeah. So what I do is I use a company called Market View Broker, I believe it is.
Uh,
They're owned by Showing
I was
Suite.
going to say, is that the showing time version?
Not showing. Let me just see. Uh, it's yeah, Market View Broker.
Okay.
And so my this is completely morphed over time, right? But I just keep adding to that list, right? So what I want is newer agents that have a high license number, have been licensed less than 4 years, right? That have done 3 to 4 million, right? Or older agents, when I say older, licensed longer, that have 5 to and up, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe even 6 or 7 and up. What I don't want is someone that's been in business for 12 years and has consistently done 2 million.
Right. Right.
Right. And then I've also gone in and I've downloaded agents that have been in the business for a very short amount of time. And I'll put them on my list, put them in Follow Up Boss, put them on my email list, email them my newsletters, my trainings, and then I'm following up, right? So, well, I don't know if you want me to tell you the process or you want
No,
to
I
just.
think so. If you're comfortable sharing it.
Yeah, sure. So what I do is I have tags for each category, and I have potential agent recruit 1 through 12. Okay, started with 1, put them through 12. Okay, literally go through each one, and
And that's like a funnel, like a process, or that's like a ranking, or what is that?
well, so what it was is those are the ones that I put in at this time. So if I have sent 15 emails to one,
Okay.
and then on number 12, this is a whole new group of new people in there. I want to be able to categorize that so I can go back each week and send them an older
So it's just
video.
when you added them. It's not anything about their production or their
There
quality.
is a little bit, like
Okay.
2 through 5 are typically the ones that I don't want.
Okay.
Okay. And then I also tag everyone with PAR, which stands for Potential Agent Recruit. And that's my weekly newsletter list. Okay. And then I have another one that's called Starred. And those are the ones that I need to keep my eyes on because I need to call them or text them or check in with them. And then like if they're in kind of like the hot list, and if they're once they kind of get cold and like, all right, I'm not getting anywhere with this, take them out of Starred because I don't really want that many people in the Starred, right?
Smart.
So and then I use the background feature of Follow Up Boss, and so when I'm downloading the list, it will show the license number, volume, and company name. Okay, and I have those exported to background. Okay, so I can always look at that because license number is important. It tells me how long they've been in the business.
Yeah.
And then, like recently, I went back to Potential Agent Recruits 1, and I'm literally going through each one. My process is that my commitment is to do 5 calls, 5 texts to agents every single day. So now that I'm going from 1 to 12 again, and you have to realize this is like, almost 2,000 people, right?
Yeah.
So now that I'm going through 1 to 12 again, I'm putting eyes on every one. I'm going to Market View Broker every single time. I'm updating the volume. So I'll have volume, 1 million dash, 3 million dash, 5 million. So I can see how they're doing. And then I'll put a date on it after the last one. So that's the last one. So if I'm calling these people, I can say, hey, congratulations on your success for a few years. I've been following you for a while and I wanted to introduce myself.
Yeah.
So really keeping these guys categorized so that, you know, I can put them in the starred list. So as I'm calling 5 a day, I'll look at one, put in Market View Broker, update the volume. Sometimes I have to update the email because they've changed brokerages. Right. Okay. And I will, and sometimes in order to call 5, I have to go through 20 or 30 because I'm not going to call every one. I just want to update them. Right. But if I see there's some in the, you know, 2 through 5 that I normally would not consider that to be a good list, they've actually done well. Right. Yeah. The other thing I look for is people that have done well and then gone down. Yeah. Because that's an opportunity for me to talk to them about what's happening and to see if we can help them. My calls are not like, I'm not calling and feature dumping. Hey, guess what we have? We've got the greatest technology and, you know.
So everybody says leads, exactly. Technology, training.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm calling to see, you know, I'll let them know up front that, look, you know, I just wanted to, you know, been on my list for a while. You may have seen some of my training, but if you have something in your business where you want to make a change, we want to be thought of as second place. Yeah. And then just dive into what's happened in the last year, you know?
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I think it's funny. I think sometimes people might think that's like creepy or whatever, but in the world of social media, like that's what everyone's doing anyway. You're just doing it in a way more educated level than like, oh, you just got a new puppy. Like, no, I've seen your business and it's like something has happened. Yeah. What's going on? I'm here if you ever want to talk. You know, I also, and the thing, you've been doing it consistently. They know why you're calling. Like if it's their second, third, fourth call with you, they know why you're calling. You don't have to say it, you know?
Yeah. And I'll tell you this though, when I dump a new list in, you know, Austin's a fairly small town and, you know, I'm fairly known in this town. Right. But I can't, I never call people without sending them a couple emails. Right. Okay. So what I'll do is every week, I try to do every week. Sometimes I'll take a couple weeks off. Is like yesterday we had our company training for the month, and we went over multiple offer situations for sellers, multiple offer situations for buyers, how to structure a backup contract successfully, and the appraisal addendum explained. Okay, those are 4 different videos for 4 different weeks. Okay. Yeah. So awesome. As if they're like the potential agent recruits 12 is the latest list we put together. I'm not going to call potential agent recruits 12 until they have at least 3 videos from me. Right. And I'm probably not going to call them the low hanging fruit. And this is a good tip for people that are using Follow Up Boss, batch emails. You send the batch email. You look at the first people that you want to call are the people that not only opened, but clicked the video. It means they saw my video. You're going to have much more success calling those people and having a conversation with them because they know you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And if you guys have questions, I saw the comment just dropped in the chat. If you guys have questions, drop them in. Ideally Q&A. Chat's okay, but Q&A helps. Definitely fine for Ryan to answer some questions. I love what you just broke down, but can you break it down maybe in another way where, like, let's just say I'm an agent that just hit your funnel. I just hit 12 today. Like in theory, you just said the first part, but in theory, what should happen? Like what should be, what series of things will I get?
So you're going to get probably before you're ever contacted, you know, minimum 2 emails with videos in them, and, you know, more likely 3 or 4, right? And I want them to get, that'll be 3 or 4 weeks of that, make a call, introduce myself. A lot of people, and it's interesting, there's a lot of agents that I have a feeling they don't know who I am. They haven't looked at my email, and they're still not calling me back, right? So that I use the Follow Up Boss text feature too. Hey, it's Ryan with Spyglass Realty. Can you give me a call when you get a chance, right? And then just following up, right? I know I just saw on the chat that, yeah. So, you know, Sep says that I don't have time to recruit myself. You know, has anyone had any success with a recruiter? Look, here's the deal. I think that as you're growing, there may be a time when I get a recruiter, but as the figurehead of the company, and in like all of my stuff with, the videos that I do, they go into a Facebook group, they go into Instagram, we distribute them on social media. Like, you're going to have more success coming from the broker owner. So I think the answer to that, I can't answer about the recruiter, but if you want to grow to the point where you can get to the point where you can hire a recruiter, hire a really good recruiter, then you're going to need to do that. You're going to need to make time, right? And so when I first started this, I was going to do, okay, I'm going to do 3 a day. I mean, it's like, if you're really diligent and you're motivated to grow, you're going to make the time, because the more people you have, the more revenue is brought in, the less you have to do transactionally, and then the more time you have. So I started with 3 calls a day. Now I'm doing 5 calls a day. Sometimes I do 7 or 10 calls a day. So
I haven't seen anyone really execute a good third-party recruiter at a low level. Like, it's just not, I'm not saying it's not possible.
Sure.
But like that just touch of like, it's the owner that's calling me. It's just a whole different feel than
they love it. The ones that know me and have watched my videos absolutely love it. Yeah. They do.
I would argue, I mean, to Sep's point, and I think that's only the panelists, so I don't think the people can see it. But I think the essence of the question is, if I don't have time to recruit, has anybody had success with a recruiter, and how would you compensate them? I would argue, if you have to automate it, maybe look at something like a BombBomb, where you could like do it a little more at scale, or sit down and record a bunch and then send them out over the course of the week. It's still not a replacement for what Ryan's doing, but like that could be a way to, automate it a little bit.
Yeah, and he asked about my videos, and I basically, break it down. Like, I'm literally editing yesterday's videos now. They're between, the whole segment was 45 minutes. I break them down into segments. I put the link in Follow Up Boss with an image, right, and link it to a group called Realty Hack, and you can just search that on Facebook.
That's what I was going to say. Just follow Realty Hack on Instagram and Facebook, and you'll see most of them.
Yeah. And I'm always trying to get them to the group, because if they go to the group and they stay in the group, then they can get engaged, right? Yeah. I don't do the group thing as good as like some other people, like Amy Youngren's just killing it with her group. Right. I've got like 300 people in there. She's got like 1,500.
Right. Yeah. And so to further kind of bolster that, Seth, what he's doing is actually recording his internal company meeting where they're teaching about contract changes or how to do a certain thing.
Yeah.
And then using that for the video. So that's brilliant. It's not only you're educating your agents, you're showing other agents that you're educating your agents.
Exactly. And we try to be very high level. Like, we did a video a couple months ago where we put together a social media farming technique for agents. And that was a major hit, right? And we actually did this live, and I had my staff record it and then overlay it with slides. So we put a lot of time in this, but the reason the reason this all started is because I was already doing this before I was recruiting. I was already putting these trainings out.
Right.
And then I thought that, like, okay, well, if I can teach agents something and give them something of value before I start to making these calls, like, I mean, it's just, you got to make deposits before you can make withdrawals. Yeah. And, I hired John Sheplack about, 2 years ago, did a stint with him, and, I was already kind of doing it like this, but he kind of gave me an overflow of how I should be doing it. Yeah. And then I just went to town on that for a year and recruited about 6 or 7 agents. And then I just kind of went dead because I stopped on the calls. Yeah. And I started creating content, was very religious about distributing the content. And then I went to another stint with him again. He's like, look, most people have the opposite problem as you. They aren't making content.
Right.
And, you're making the content, but let me ask you this, Ryan, are you making the calls?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I've really slacked off on the calls.
Right.
And he's like, right. There you go.
You still have to. It's funny. I think some people try to make it so different than being in production. It's the same freaking thing. The agents are just your leads.
I know. Isn't that funny? I have to hire brilliant but very expensive coach to tell me the same thing that I'm
Make your
telling my
calls.
agents on a daily basis.
Make your calls. They're not all going to convert right away.
Yeah. And they're not all, I get hung up on sometimes, and, it's like, I think I'm at a point now where that doesn't happen that often. Most time people are nice, but I remember I called an agent one time, and she was with Sotheby's, and she did 2,500 or so 2.5 million, which is, it's a lower amount. Right.
Yeah.
And she said, well, Ryan, I've heard of you and I respect your business, but like, I'm with Sotheby's. And I'm like, whoa, I literally said, whoa, back up a second. I was like, okay, well, let me just tell you, I didn't mention that her production doesn't reflect that, but I did say, there are people that leave Sotheby's, right? There are people that leave other companies and search for something that may be better off for them. Right. I respect the hell out of Sotheby's, but that's not for everyone. I respect the hell out of my company, but we're not for everyone.
Right.
So.
That's so funny. Well, and actually, it's funny you said that. So let's go a little deeper on that. Like, and you don't have to say who is not for you specifically, but like, you got to be real about who you really want, right? Like, this is not just, I'll take anybody that comes. So like, where do you kind of draw the line of like, or what are some deal breakers is maybe an easier way to say that?
Yeah. So during COVID right now, there's a lot of deal breakers on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that you should be too political on Facebook. Okay. And I understand that people are passionate, and I'm not like going to look at like one post and say, oh, that person's out. Right. But if you look at their post and it's one thing after another, and I'm not saying right or left, I'm saying either way. Yeah. Okay. I look at agents that do that and I say, you're losing business by doing that. Right. That's not what we do. Right.
So I don't want them out of that. Like, that's just what they do.
Yeah. I mean, look, I kind of, I draw the line at, with everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter. That's a civil rights issue. Like, literally everyone should get behind that. So that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm talking about the people that think there's a great conspiracy on the left, there's a great conspiracy on the right. All that type of stuff. I have no interest in that.
And the whole feed is that. Like, if somebody wants to, make a comment every here and there, fine. Right.
And so the other thing is, kind of company culture. Although I'm aging, we're somewhat of a young company. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to hire an older person, but I want to know that they have the spirit that we do. Right. Yeah. And you can see a lot of that in social media. Yeah. So I think there's also production, like, looking at a person that is been in a business. We talked about this a little bit. They've been in a business for 8 years, and they've been at 3 different companies, and they're at 2 million completely. Yeah. Maybe they got to 3, then back to 2. I don't know if I can help that person. Right. But on the flip side, what I've really recently realized that there's a lot of people that have done 3 to 4 million, and even gone down to, like, we have one agent right now. She was with a boutique company that was absorbed by a really big company. She did 3 to 4 million a year consistently. When that company was bought out by a bigger company, she did $1 million last year. Okay. Very, low number. Right. Yeah. And then year to date right now, she's at 3.8 million contracted and closed. Right. Awesome. That taught me that, like, we can really work with those people.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then, like I said before too, that gives you the story for the next one. So you meet with somebody else who's done something similar, and you have that use case, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And that's another thing that we'll do. Sometimes our videos, although we're not widely distributing this out in our newsletter, but I'll do what we call an agent spotlight. We used to do it in the office. I'd have it recorded and I have an interview, and I'm making 2 different types of videos for that. We record it over like 15 to 20 minutes. Now we're doing it on Zoom, but I get the background on the person, what they like to do in Austin, what their history was, what has their experience been with Spyglass Realty? Have they joined our accountability groups? What they want to see when they are choosing for a brokerage, And I try not to make it completely self-serving, but there's certainly some self-serving parts out on that. And then I cut that video into 2 different videos. One is for the agent to use for them that has nothing to do about Spyglass Realty. And then the other one has to do with their journey from previous companies, not mentioning any names, but previous companies, and then joining Spyglass Realty, and why they have found that we have been a successful venture for them. So we'll take that video, we'll embed it, we'll put it on YouTube, embed it into a page, and then I'll use those in my conversations mostly, right? Like the lady I was just telling you about that went from 1 to 3.8. Like, okay, well, let me just, like, when I'm talking to agents and telling them why they, like, I had a conversation with a lady this morning. She's like, why do you think that your agents, I showed her my Trajectify, how, you know, the agents that have gone from this to this. She goes, why is that? I said, you know what? I don't want to get into that, but I'm going to wait. She goes, I'm in Follow Up Boss, got I'm on the Zoom meeting with her, got the URL. As I'm talking to her, 1 second, boom, go to the text and Follow Up Boss, send it to her, look at that later. I don't want to get into that, but you can watch it and let her tell you. Now let's talk about your business, right? So here's what I did. In that conversation, I'm able to use that asset to let it speak for me, not give her a bunch of fluff and change the conversation about us, but then also put that conversation back to her to say, let's talk about where you've been.
Right.
Right.
And then if she clicks it 5 times, you can see that in Follow Up Boss, and you can
absolutely.
Just saying that could happen. But no, that totally makes sense. And one of the things I really love about this, and I know a lot of your journey, so I guess I have some unfair insight into a lot of this.
Well, you've been a part of my journey. You've helped me structure when I was growing. I was growing and needed structure, and Lee came in and helped me do all the things that I'm not good at. So
fair enough. Well, I do have my Spyglass, my
old school. Yeah, right on.
My old school.
Yeah.
I need a new school, but I got to get to Austin to get one. So
no, you don't. I'll send you one.
All right, let's do it. So, but yeah, I think the thing is you've gotten really good at doing content and then multi-purposing it. Like that's the thing. You shoot one thing and it can go in a newsletter. It can go on social. You can do retargeting with, like, whatever it is that you do with that. You can send it out while you're on a call. So you just got this library of stuff that's relevant, going to be relevant to anybody, really,
Yeah, and my piece of advice with that is don't, if you're doing training and you're really do high level training, don't waste the opportunity to reuse that.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And I'd love for Megan to hop on and join us. We've got a question or two, and I think probably we'll start breeding some more questions. So if you guys have questions, drop them in the Q&A. It's a great chance to really ask Ryan, maybe not anything.
I see one right here. It says, what's your conversion rate from agents in your database to meeting to hired? On average, is how many touches before hired? I have, I can tell you from, I don't know. I know John Sheplack says the average is 13 conversations, I think. I don't track that. I will tell you that if you look at every agent that I've hired in the last year, half of them started 6 months to 1 year before that.
Okay. I think those metrics, I think that's the right thing. Like, you do consistent touches and it's 6 months to a year.
There's usually no instant gratification. Well, there's very little instant gratification with recruiting. It's a marathon.
Yeah, for sure. So Megan, do you want to field that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Are there any sites you use to locate/recruit agents?
Yeah. Market View Broker is really it. That's the only one I use.
So I actually have a question for you. Have you had I'm sure you have, like, you've probably made some hiring mistakes. I'd love to hear about that.
Sure. I've made a lot, as a matter of fact, less so lately. I think the mistake that you'll have is when you hire, well, first of all, new agents are really tough. I'm considering hiring one. I'm meeting with one tomorrow, but the average agent was it 73% of agents fall out during the first 5 years, and you just need to know that, right? And you know, they can interview really well, but we're not set up to train new agents, and I will consider some that have a strong history of sales. The other ones I've done is I've made mistakes on agents that have less humility than I like. They're a little bit more arrogant. I'm thinking of one in general right now that not only was a mistake to hire him, but I should have fired him way before I did. And you know, this guy, he was actually, you know, a year and a half ago, he was our second highest producing agent. I think he was doing like 10 or 12 million a year. And I just started, he was really, I helped train him. He was a new agent, very rare success story that he got so, you know, high in volume in such a short period of time. And then I started hearing things from other agents in the company about how arrogant he was and just stuff like that. And then, you know, and then something happened with a client that I had referred to him, one of my previous clients. So yeah, those types of things happen. The other thing is, you know, people that are very needy, I think. When you're interviewing an agent, you need to be looking out. The biggest thing that you need to be looking out for is that victim mentality, right? Because that's never going to work. You know, if you have a conversation with someone and they really start trashing their last 1 to 3 brokers, it's different if they say, you know, this last place was horrible. I had such a good time at the time before. But, you know, I remember one agent, she's like, you know, she went and trashed like her last 3 brokers. And I was like, okay, you're out. You know, that's always look out for victim mentality.
That's such good advice. I think also just learning, you know, we talked a little bit about this before, but learning when to actually make the decision to cut somebody loose.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a bad apple can really kind of spoil the whole bunch.
No
right?
doubt about it.
So that's great. What kind of accountability groups do you have? And
Yeah,
how
so
do
we've
you
done
make
this.
culture?
Okay, yeah, that's so we have accountability group that it's 6 weeks, and it has to be voluntary. We meet for about an hour. They pick 3 micro commitments. One of those micro commitments can be personal, like I'm going to walk my dog or I'm going to exercise 30 minutes a week, and the other 2 are professional. And so the professional ones are like, I'm going to call 10 leads a day, or I'm going to schedule 2 open houses every week, right? And so, you know, that's been really important. It has to be voluntary, and I can't be a leader of it, right? Because they want to be accountable to each other, okay? And then the other way we maintain a company culture is, and by the way, we just won for the 2nd year in a row Friday, best places to work. We're number 5 in our category, so that seems to be working. Is, you know, because I'm so over transactions, but I'm not over my agent's transactions. We meet with each agent once every 2 months. I usually do 2 to 3 one-on-one meetings a week. We go through their goals. Okay, we have a weekly huddle that where it's mandatory for people that are on leads. It's not mandatory for people that aren't on leads. We do a Zoom call with that. We also have our once a month big meeting where we really try to bring the fire. And so when COVID hit, what we did, you know, we were doing 1 meeting a week just for people on leads. I said, screw this, you know, that's not mandatory. Instead, we're going to meet 3 times a week. Okay. And that is not mandatory as well, because what people were just so scared and did not know what to do. They wanted a place to go. So we started doing that, and it was packed, you know, and then, you know, as things started getting back to normal, we dropped it to twice a week. And then now we're back to the weekly huddle with the leads. Right. And then we also during COVID, we did a happy hour every week, and that was really well attended. Now, as things started to get back to normal, that started to wane. So now we're doing 1 happy hour a month. And then we also have a big party every year. And then we're big believers in Workplace by Facebook. And I know Lee uses that, and I'm constantly going live on there. I'm encouraging agents to go live. It's very active, and that's a really good way to maintain a company culture remotely and virtually. But I will tell you that that's not going to work unless your leader is active. I need to go live. If I have something that I think is profound that I'm going to say, I'm going to go live in there. And it's just well received. During COVID, like I kind of found my strength because I had these fears that I knew that I needed to overcome as a leader. And I kind of went from like, don't get mad, get even. We're just going to attack it. And I went live very often. And I think that inspired agents.
That's awesome to hear. So, I mean, what I'm taking away from that is, one, you do have a structure. Like, you have a structure for meeting with your team, and you obviously respond to the times. So, when they needed you more, you were there more, and then you were also developing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. One thing is, like, I don't come into all this stuff with Mr. Confidence, right? I try to be inspiring, but also I'm vulnerable, and I let people know that. You want to be authentic, right?
Right, of course. This is a great question. So what do you find to be the biggest single hook to get experienced agents to seriously consider joining your team?
Well, I think the biggest hook is other agents, right? One of the biggest successes that we've had is when I recruit a new agent, we have an onboarding process. We make a image that says "Welcome to the team," and I send them a Facebook friend request, and then I post that on Facebook. And I can tell you that we get so many, right? There's a lady we recruited 2 weeks ago, and she had like 180 reactions. And I've been told, after the fact that, like, I had 3 agents call me and say, "What's going on over there at Spyglass?" So I think really that's it. I mean, and the conversations you had, this all goes together. It's the emails, it's the Facebook posts, it's the conversations, and then not trying to close on the phone, right? Like, where you're not feature dumping. When you're talking to agents, you need to handle that like a coaching call, because if you start feature dumping, they're going to hang up with you. You just want to dig into their business, and because people, like with anything, they want to talk about themselves. Yeah. So
I would say if there is a hook, it's not a single line. It's the fact that you actually care about their business, that you actually legitimately, like, you would give them free advice and then tell them to have a nice day. Like, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. And now that I have the Follow Up Boss recorded, like, that is gold. What I realized with my notes is I'm like the worst note taker in the world. Like, I type something down and it's like, I don't even know what the hell that means, So, and if I look at it, if I'm going back to these conversations, I see one, this one's like 18 minutes long. I don't even barely remember this. Go through that. Then you start jumping back into that conversation. Last time we talked about this. Like, that's a huge cultivator.
So have you registered or recruited and onboarded someone during shelter in place? So during COVID? I think you answered that before. Right? Yeah.
Seven. There's a lady came in the office.
7, just like a quarter of the people.
Yeah, this has been my single best recruiting season ever. Yeah.
That's so interesting. And what was different about it? Were there any additional challenges, or actually did you find that there was more space for it?
I think there's more space for it, right? And
I think other people dropped the ball, right? And you were there.
That and that like, I had like 2 weeks when we couldn't do anything here in Austin of extreme fear. I drank enough to fuel a rocket for those 2 weeks. And then when I came out of it, all right, I've had my grief period. I just really motivated, and I really want to have as many conversations as possible. And I felt, there's a time where I felt like I was helpless with this, and like, okay, well, why don't I just have as many conversations as possible? And I mean, I'm doing 5 now, but I was doing, 3 or 4 hours of calls because I literally had nothing else to do. So, having those calls and checking in with people, and believe me, man, if we get shelter in place again, people are going to want to talk. Okay. And I saw somebody ask about splits. I'm fine sharing the splits. Like, here's what I did. I used to have a cap of, I think, was 8 or 21,000. They paid in 21,000. We were like, I think 80% with 21,000. And I got rid of them. And I got rid of them because if you have a cap, your $3 million person is worth the same to you as your $10 million person. Okay. And we are so agent focused. We provide so much service that I know I need to earn my split over and over again. So the way it is up to under 3 million is 75%. 3 million is 80. 4 million is 85, and 5 million is 90. Okay, that's what they get. And as long as they maintain those, then I will, that stays. It doesn't reset, right? It will reset.
Oh, that's smart. So
yeah,
it's not calendar year. It's maintaining that level of production.
Yeah, if you do, 7 million for 5 years, you'll have 90-10 5 years in a row.
I was kind of segueing into the next question, which is, what do you offer to agents? So, and you said you're, so agent focused and you offer so much. Mm-hmm. Can you give us kind of a high level on that?
Sure. Well, we have a variety of tech systems. We have $100 a month tech fee. I think if these agents were to get it to themselves, it'd probably be, 400 or 500. But they're not all going to use them, right? But it's my point is it's a wash. That's one thing. The other thing that we offer is one-on-one coaching every 2 months, whether they ask for it or not. It's time to check in. We have the accountability groups, which I think are great. We do marketing for them. We retarget every listing for them, just listed, under contract, just sold. We also, because I'm very heavy into social media and Google AdWords, we do custom ads for them. Like if they're going to get a $2 million listing in Bowling Creek, and they go to that listing and they say, we're going to run Google AdWords for you, then we'll do that for them. They have to pay for it, but we know how to do it. So we'll do that for them. The other thing we started doing is social media farming for them. Now, what we try to do is we've got this onboarding system of how they do it themselves. Okay. And very few of them can do it themselves. They can do parts of it themselves. So, we step in if they get stuck on that part, and then we coach them on what to do. For instance, like in my own farm, I'm constantly doing a market video once a month saying, hey, Ryan with Spyglass Realty, here's what's going on in Barton Hills during COVID for the last month, right? And then overlay that for them. And then coaching them for social media practices too. In our workplace group, we have a content writer that writes articles as we choose, and we're putting overlays, we're putting images for Facebook and Instagram. So our social media group in workplace we put about 3 different images per week so that they can use. Hashtag coaching. We've got in our social media group, we've got different hashtags that they can use, buckets of hashtags for different things.
And other than just being awesome, what are you doing to improve retention? And what does that look like for you? Because I know this has been a process, right? Mm-hmm. Where you are today isn't where you were a couple of years ago.
Oh, I wasn't there a year ago. I mean, this has been the best year of growth. I think it's just everything we talked about, right? One thing that I think really helps is that I'm actually making a call to an agent a day. And this isn't a coaching thing. It's just a call, 1 call per day to an agent within my company, seeing how they're doing. I look at numbers too. And we have one agent that is joined us a few months ago, and she hasn't done really well. And I said, all right, look, next 6 weeks, Friday at 11:30, you're going to get on the phone with me, and I'm going to tell you what to do, and we're going to knock this out of the park. Okay. We'll see. We're on week 2, but I think she'll. I mean, it's important for me that they do better when they come over, obviously, right? So, and I think that just all those things that we talked about really are good for retainment. Like, I think a lot of people will lose sight of your own people when they get into recruitment, and your own people really are the single biggest asset to recruit other people, because any agent I look at on Facebook, we have 100 to anyway, sometimes 300 mutual friends, right? We follow each other, and sometimes these are not just like Facebook friends, but good friends. So if you're not good to your own people, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
I don't know what we'd do without Facebook.
I know. A lot more work, but
yeah, probably more relaxed too. But.
Yeah, right.
So there's 2 questions left here. One is about your smart lists and setup and follow-up boss, and if you're willing to share that. If you want to share that now, awesome. If not, maybe we could share something after, because I'll send a follow-up email anyway. If there's anything that you'd be comfortable sharing, like, just basically your recruiting pipeline.
I think it all has real names in it, though. It all has real names in it, so I think it'd be pretty hard.
We could probably, yeah.
Well, I don't know what you mean, because I think it's pretty simple. Like, my process is tags. It's potential agent groups 1 through 12, right? And then the PAR, you can call it whatever you want. That means agent newsletter. The PAR, they're going to get agent newsletter, whether I want them or not, right? And then the starred is the list that I need to look at every single week and text and follow up. And then I think the big thing that we use is the background feature. That's something that took me a while to use with Follow Up Boss, but it's like at a glance right there, So on background, I've got the company name, and I'm happy to send screenshots, and y'all can blur them out or whatever. But this pretty much covers it, right? Is that company name that they're with, the email address and phone number. And volume number, right? And I think what's really important about, this is all evolves over time, but and it gets more detailed over time, is updating the volume. You want to know what they've done, since the first time you put them in your list. There are people that I'm calling now that a year and a half ago I would never thought I would call, but they went from 1.5 to 3. I mean, I've seen people go to like 7 million, right? And I'm like, gosh, maybe I should have called sooner. And so what I'm doing now is, unless they just have a horrible track record, I'm calling everyone, and at least once, and I'm introducing myself.
Yeah, and I can write all of that out just so to share the structure, and I think that's good enough.
Sure.
Okay, so this last one, I'd like to add a bit to it. So the question is, how do you build confidence in the newer agent before they have the production and experience? But I think we could also add to that, like, just how do you generally build confidence and motivate your team?
Yeah, I think one is our professional development meetings that we do every 2 months. They're very happy to hear, especially newer agents or people that have kind of lost their mojo. They're very happy to hear from your leadership, especially if they came from a bigger company where they're not used to that. Number 2 is the accountability groups are really big. I mean, especially if they get into it and they start doing the things that they're going to say they're doing. Some of these people don't do really well at accountability groups, but the ones that do are really flourish in them. I mean, having 3 things, like as real estate agents, we're fly by the seat of our pants, we're dealing with one problem after another, we're a generally unorganized crowd of people, right? So, but if you have 3 things that are very important that you're going to do every single day, then and you actually accomplish those, that's going to empower you to do more, right? So if an agent has a success, like I'm going to call 5 leads a day, and this is on top of all kind of other stuff, that everything that they're doing, right? the next week, yeah, I got a hold of like 3 people. It's like, well, let's stretch that. Let's move that to 10 leads a day. Can you put that in there? Right. But I mean, it's really, installing confidence is about getting people to do what they need to do and get them to doing that by self-realization. Right. And that's really a lot of that has to do with asking the right questions. Why do you think, I mean, I know why they didn't do it, but why do you think you didn't do that? You're not getting any past clients. You're not getting referrals. How long have you been doing the business? 7 years. How many contacts do you have in Follow Up Boss? This is one I got the other day, 135. I said, you've been doing this for 7 years and you have 135 contacts in Follow Up Boss. What do you think you need to do? I need to add more contacts. Absolutely.
That's such a great point. I mean, really, like, that's it. It's Megan, I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say this. I probably say it on every episode we do together, but like, it's simple but hard, right? It's hard to just do that.
Yeah. And I've always said, show me your CRM and I'll show you your next year's income.
Yeah.
By how many contacts you have, how many calls you've made, how many emails you have. And I'm not just saying this because we're on a Follow Up Boss webinar. I literally say it every other day. It's like, if you're not in your CRM, then you're not going to make money.
Yeah. And more than ever, like in the old days, you could just dial or like have a Google group and like just call people and just kind of do the thing. But now there's so much technology and so many things coming at them, and iBuyers and Zillow and all this stuff that, the new way to stand out is to pick up the phone and call somebody and ask how they're doing.
Yeah. Or send text,
Right.
email, bomb, right? Like, spend time on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I
think that's the one thing I'll say about that is that I've gotten to the habit of pulling their Facebook page as I go through each lead. I'll put the Facebook URL, if it's not automatically there, in there, because I want to look at that each time.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. And what I was going to say before is just the idea that I think that is a great place to wrap it up, because ultimately, more conversations with people, more educated conversations with people, keeping them organized in a way that makes sense, whether that's higher value or lesser value, or they're new to the database, whatever that is. We can't give you that magical secret sauce for you and your company and your situation and your market and all that. But, making the calls, being informed before you make them, creating good content that you can ideally use for consumers, agent training, recruiting, retention, all the above. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah. And being interested in listening, really, and asking the right questions.
Yeah. No, that's great. Ryan, I really appreciate you being on. It's always good to chat.
Yeah, twice in a week. Good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And join his Realty Hack group, and you'll see our interview we did a couple days ago. Should be coming out soon.
Yep.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you
Megan.
so much, Ryan.
See you guys later. Bye.
Yeah.